Chapter 8 of Baby Moll by Lee Farris. This LibriVox recording's in the public domain. Chapter 8. I slept right through the alarm, but a Puerto Rican houseboy shook me awake a few minutes later and got me out of the sack. He had to assist me in getting to the bathroom, then held me under the shower until the feel of the water penetrated gritty layers of pain. I might have stayed under all day, but he reminded me politely that Macy expected everyone to be at breakfast by 8:30. I shook my head gently to test the reliability of stiff muscles and got out. My fingers had trouble holding the razor and my wrist was rubber as I shaved. I felt like death warmed over. Clean clothes and hot coffee thoughtfully provided by the houseboy helped some. I made the dining room at 9:20. The others were eating. Macy looked up from a plate of eggs and threw introductions around carelessly. Then he went back to eating. I knew most of them. Only Rudy and Mrs. Rink were absent. I took a vacant seat beside Rink, looked at Diane more carefully. She was a tall, lemon-haired blonde with a serene face every bit as beautiful as my quick look in the cigarette glow last night had suggested. She paid no attention to me. She was wearing shorts and some kind of pullover play shirt, with elbow-length split sleeves laced together and tied with little cord bows. Next to her was Amy, a thin, undersized little Cuban girl with straight black hair and a flat nose. Amy and Macy did most of the talking, back and forth across the table. Macy was in good spirits. He took great delight in learning everything the child had done the day before. Amy would twist her head from side to side and smile big but vaguely and answer in a few halting words. Her attention was easily distracted. Diane had to coax her patiently to eat.
"We gonna go boat riding this afternoon, Daddy?"
Amy asked Macy, lifting a napkin to wipe away milk from the corner of her mouth. I noticed a wide glossy scar on her arm. "Well, I don't know, dear," Macy said with a slight frown. He looked better this morning, in a bright yellow sports shirt, his hair carefully combed and face shaved. He looked more like the old, confident, angle-wise Macy. "You know I don't care for boats." Amy stuck with it.
"I haven't been boat riding all week."
There was a trace of her ancestry in her speech. "Diane can take you," Macy said, cutting up a piece of steak.
"But I want to go with you,"
Amy said pathetically. Macy reached across the table and patted her hand. "I know, baby. Well," he scratched his jaw, "maybe tomorrow. Daddy has to work today." One of the servants brought me orange juice and a platter of steak and eggs. Rink had said nothing to me when I sat down, only nodded. But when he was through eating, he turned and asked,
"How are you this morning, Mr. Mallory?"
"I'm hanging on," I remarked on the absence of his wife.
"Evelyn's not feeling well this morning. Her back is giving her some pain."
He turned his glum face away abruptly, put a cup of coffee to it.
"Evelyn has a problem with her nerves," he said, sipping slowly. "She suffers a great deal. We've been unable to find anything that might help her."
He put the cup down and straightened his glasses precisely.
"I wanted to be sure you understood about Evelyn, about how she is."
"I think I know what you mean," I said. He nodded, his large eyes on me. He blinked once, slowly. "I'm engaged to be married myself," I said. He nodded again and smiled disarmingly.
"Is that so?"
The news seemed to please him.
"Is that right?"
he said again, as if he were afraid I was only funning. "I sure hope Mrs. Rink feels better," I said.
"I'm sure she will."
He got up then, having tugged at my heartstrings enough, and excused himself. "You going into town, Pete?" Macy said through a mouthful. "Yes." Diane looked up and glanced at me fleetingly.
"Could Amy and I go in with Mallory?"
she said to Macy. "I'm going in later. I can take you," a new voice grumbled. It came from Taggart, Macy's hired hand, a formidable giant as solidly and thickly built as bridge piling. He was good-looking, but his features had no mobility, and his expression was gluey, turtle-slow.
"I wanted to go in earlier so I could take Amy shopping after we leave the doctor,"
Diane explained. She touched the back of Taggart's brown hand.
"You can pick us up at the department store this afternoon."
His face inclined toward his plate by half an inch. He didn't look at the blonde girl. Her fingers touched his hand for a moment longer, then withdrew. Despite the lack of words, there seemed to be some bond of intimacy between them. He picked up a piece of bread and wiped up the egg yolk on his plate with it, crammed the bread into his mouth. Most of them were through eating before I started. I had the dining room to myself when Owen Barr came in. I had forgotten that he was in the house. He wore a shiny purple bathrobe and flopping slippers. He was a little chunky man with red hair that stuck out here and there in tufts around his ears. The top of his head was bald. He had a bristly mustache and mean eyes. He looked worse than I felt. He tottered to the table, grabbed the coffee pot, and poured a slug into somebody else's cup. He drank it, sobbing a little between gulps. He looked at me while he was drinking, but not as if he saw me.
"God damn it,"
he said passionately.
"Oh, God damn it."
He walked around in a big circle, his slippers flopping, his short arms stuck out to balance him. Then he had another cup of coffee, after which he half sat in a chair and half leaned on his elbows against the table and held the cup tightly with stubby fingers and worked up a belch, a look of great concentration on his blotched face. Big drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. I drank the last of my orange juice, left the room, and went in search of Macy. I found him in a study in an air-conditioned wing of the house, his feet on the desk, reading the morning paper. There was a loaded .45 on the desk within easy reach. When he heard my step in the doorway, he put the paper across the desk, covering the automatic in the hand that grasped it. Then he looked at me, picked up the paper again, flicking ashes off a cigarette in his mouth with a corner of it.
"Ready to go?"
he muttered. "Yeah, I'll need a car. Rudy can return that rented job when he's up and around. Expense money, too."
We got a lot of cars in the garage. Pick one out you like. Keys are in the ignition."
He went to his wallet and counted out money for me. "From now on, you don't talk about what I'm doing," I said. "You don't tell anybody where I go or who I see. Is the phone bugged?" He folded the paper and put it in his lap.
"As far as I know, it isn't. Telephone company watches it to see the line stays clean. I trust everybody here, Pete."
I reached over and picked up the .45. "And you're using this for a paperweight?" He didn't say anything. I took it by the barrel and threw it at him. He sat there holding it foolishly. "I don't trust anybody," I said. "Nice little family you got here, Macy. The blonde in particular. Where did you get her?"
"Diane? Oh, I found her wandering around the hotel one night 3 or 4 years ago. Nearer 4. She was looking for a job. Well, I liked the way she was built. I thought I'd try to get me some, but when I went to peel her clothes off, she threw a hysterical fit and said she'd kill me."
His eyes were fond with the memory of her and the pleasures of younger times.
"I didn't give up easy. I kept her around, but I never could. Hardly ever touch her. She was so damn jumpy. Finally, I got tired of chasing her and passed her on to Maxine and told him to put her to work somewhere. That was when I could still tell him things. Later on, when I had Amy on my hands, I took her back because she was the only one who could handle the kid."
"She a nut of some kind?"
"Oh, I don't know. Diane's probably a little off balance, but harmless. She has these fits sometimes if people try to push her. Or maybe she'll just sit around and stare and not say a word. But she's really okay and she's good for Amy."
He grinned.
"How do you like Amy? How do you like that little monkey, huh?"
I was expected to like Amy. "Cute. She has a look like somebody chases her through her dreams." He wagged his head.
"A couple more years, she'll forget all about it. I'm giving her something here. Security. She wakes up screaming now, and she's not alone. She's sleeping in a big bed with Diane, not on some piss-cake cot in a stinking room. She's in a solid house with the ocean outside singing her to sleep. I done something for her. She'll forget."
"What's she done to you?"
"Huh?"
He looked at me stupidly, shaking loose the clinging paternal thoughts. "Skip it," I told him, and started toward the door.
"You let me know when you got something,"
he said far too casually. I could hear the tension in his voice. "I'll let you know." In my room, I picked up a coat and put it on over my sport shirt. I walked down the hall and ran into Owen Barr. He stopped and chugged back like a myopic beetle. He showed some signs of being conscious, so I spoke to him. "Hello, Owen. You still managing the Coral Gardens for Macy?" He looked up at me and almost snarled.
"Get out of my way so I can go to my room, unless you'd rather I puke here in the hall."
I sidestepped and he went rapidly along, tipping against the wall a couple of times. I shrugged and went outside to the garage. End of Chapter 8.